Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Friends Talking Nerdy. This is Tim Jousma, and joining me behind the steering wheel is the greatest legal mind in the Pacific Northwest, if I do say so myself. It is Professor Aubrey.
Hello.
All right.
What is going on tonight, Tim?
Well, we have a special travel episode. We are heading to the movies again. We are heading to the Hollywood Theater to go see the Fargo, the Coen Brothers classic, Fargo. Yeah.
This is one of my favorite movies of all time. How do you feel about it, Tim?
I have never seen it. The only Coen Brothers movie I have ever seen is The Big Lebowski, and that did not blow me away at all.
Yeah, I didn't see The Big Lebowski for the longest time, and I didn't love it when I saw it. I know there are people who are, devoted to it as a lifeway, but, I liked it fine. Mm-hmm. It just didn't rock me, and I think it's because I saw all the other Coen Brothers movies before I saw that one, and that one is probably my least favorite. But movies like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?, Raising Arizona, such great films, and this one is just as good as those.
I'm not the one to judge the entire Coen Brothers catalog based on the one film that I've seen. I do have respect for them, and they actually got started around the same time as Sam Raimi, and actually shared some actors at the beginning of both of their directing careers. And so I hope I end up liking this, because for the longest time I've wanted to. Let's put it that way. It's just The Big Lebowski was just not for me.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, the thing with The Big Lebowski too is that they were very open about copying a lot of Dashiell Hammett's writing style, especially as it came to The Maltese Falcon with the non-ending. And that, more than anything, is just, I don't know, just maybe if it had a proper ending, I wouldn't view the movie so bad.
You wouldn't have such a negative view of it.
Correct. Now, obviously Fargo, I believe that won a couple of Academy Awards, am I correct?
It did indeed, yes.
Yes, so
it was pretty groundbreaking at the time for its treatment of murder in such a matter-of-fact way.
What do you mean by that?
I think you'll see when you see the movie. What is interesting about the movie, I think, is how dispassionate it is about the very real and important events that are happening in the lives of the characters. So you're really watching it happen, and you don't get that emotionally invested in any of these people. It's more of a comedy, but it's like an incredibly dark comedy. Interesting,
yeah. So, I'm coming into this with fresh eyes. Hopefully with my opinion of The Big Lebowski, I don't let that cloud my overall take on this film, because I know Frances McDormand's in it, and she's one hell of an actress.
Indeed she is, as is, who's the guy who's in it? I can't remember his name right now.
Steve Buscemi, wasn't he in it?
Steve Buscemi is great in it, but no, I'm thinking about, he's got 3 names, Jay, Walter. Oh my gosh.
Name some other movies they did. Or TV shows.
He's probably most famous for this character in Fargo. I'll know as soon as I see him, I'll know his name.
Yeah. Ray Don Chon. No. Lou Diamond Phillips.
No, he's as good as, he's a really good actor.
Okay. So we will, check out Fargo. Like I said, I have not seen this movie before, so we'll give you our thoughts here after the musical interlude, and give you our thoughts on how the Hollywood has been holding up ever since things have kind of opened up a little bit in the world.
Yep, it's going to be awesome.
Yep, so hang tight. We're going to kick you to a musical interlude, and when we come back, you're either going to hear me say lots of great things about the movie, or I'm going to be whining like a little bitch.
How you doing? Thanks for coming. We're going to have a good time tonight. This is great. I'm from Minnesota. I live there in Minnesota right now, so we can talk about the accent. How's this? Does that sound a little bit better? We can talk about the accent later. Oh geez. And I was born in western North Dakota, and I'm of Norwegian descent, so we can talk about the accent for sure. So the boys, the brothers, Joel and Ethan Coen, this is their 6th movie, and for this movie they wrote the script for 3 people, for William A. Tracy, Mick Dorman, Storm, and also Steve Buscemi. So when I was researching this book, I looked at the script, early versions of the script, so I could kind of take you through the script later, if you had any script-specific questions, because there were things that were not in the original script, but ended up in the movie. And we can talk a lot about principal photography, which happened in 1995 in Minnesota, except there was no snow. Oh my God. So when you watch the movie, pay special attention to a lot of the outdoor scenes. You'll see the snow, of course, but like in the scene where Marge investigates the triple homicide and the camera pans to the upside down car and such, there's a little bit of patchiness there. That scene was filmed, patchiness in the snow. That scene was filmed up near the Canadian border in northern North Dakota. And even there, the snow was melting. So most of the movie, the indoor scenes were shot in the Minneapolis area, but they had to move principal photography up to Grand Forks, North Dakota for those big outdoor scenes. So that was one of the things that Joel and Ethan struggled with during the filming of Fargo. Let's watch the movie and we can talk about it some more later. Thanks for coming.
All right, thank you all for listening through that musical interlude. The person you heard, hopefully you were able to make out what he said, is a gentleman by the name of Todd Melby. He's an author of a book called A Lot Can Happen in the Middle of Nowhere, The Untold Story of the Making of Fargo. And the great thing about the Hollywood theater is that you have people like that can show up and, give presentations about movies. And what I love about that is that even with movies a person may or may not be a fan of, when you have a person like that there asking questions, you can actually get a lot more and come to a better understanding of what makes that movie good. And even if you don't walk out of the theater a big fan of the movie, at least you get some extra information. But yeah, what did you think?
Well, I want to find out from you, what do the listeners know about the Hollywood theater, or should we tell them about it?
I think we've talked about the Hollywood theater enough on this show. Going all the way back in the archives to, some of the first episodes here. For anybody that may not know, because, looking at like our listenership, a majority of our listeners are in the Portland, Oregon area. But if you are outside of Portland, you've never been here, the Hollywood theater is an old classic movie theater built in the 1920s that is run by a nonprofit group that thanks to donations and other stuff, they have not only kept up this classic, beautiful movie theater, they're able to show some great first-run movies as well as show you some classic movies with some extra special presentations. It's one of the best movie theaters I've ever had the privilege of going to.
I agree. I think it's one of the best movie theaters I've ever heard of. There's certainly other nonprofit historic movie theaters in the around, but it's a really nice one, and I think they do a good job of curating the films and providing those extras, the extra speakers, and extra experiences for their members.
And I think most importantly, too, what I appreciate about it is that they have a nice variety of content. They don't play strictly art house or strictly a genre film. I mean, there's something for everybody. If you want, your Oscar winners at the end of the year showing up and watching the new Wes Anderson movie, it's perfect for that. But, if you want to sit back, like one of the films they have in November that they're going to play during their Mondo Trasho segment, I think. I know they're playing it, but I forgot under what series it's specifically for. But they're going to play the old 90s horror classic, I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So they have a great variety of stuff going on there at the Hollywood, and we were privileged to go. And I just love that you had this great explanation of the guy and what he brought and what he'd be able to do and contextualizing the movie for you. And then, of course, we left right after the movie was over and did not stay for that portion of the evening.
Yeah, we were that good about it. Now, for the past couple of weeks, I have been dealing with a slight medical issue. I won't get into it, but yeah, it was something to where sitting in a movie theater seat, which can already be tough with my back issues, was just a little bit extra hard,
Oh, now I feel bad for calling out that we didn't stay.
Yeah, so thank you.
Oh. Well,
you dick, we left.
Well, you just had me so convinced with your explanation that it would have been so cool had we stayed for it.
No. Seriously, if I did not have my slight medical issue, I definitely would have stayed there. Because truth be told, what I've discovered is that ultimately I am not a Coen Brothers fan. I did not care for the movie. However, I do stand by what I said. When you go to something like this and you have a speaker that is there, if you're able to, you sit back. And again, if learning why somebody makes something can give you a better understanding of it, a better appreciation of it, even if it's something that's not your cup of tea. And ultimately, for the Coen Brothers, what I've discovered is that they're not my cup of tea. They deserve their reputation as filmmakers. They make some great films. It's okay to say those films are just not for me,
I think it's absolutely okay to say that those films aren't for you. I don't understand it. And I think that it makes us like fundamentally different kinds of people that you don't like them.
Why do you say that?
Well, like most of the Coen Brothers movies, my entire family can quote from beginning to end and will just come out with the little ditties from those movies out of nowhere constantly.
Not me. I mean, again, admittedly, with the entertainment I had growing up, it was more of your mainstream stuff. And even though the Coen Brothers have had some very, very successful films, the money those films make is not something like a Marvel movie would make or anything like that. So, but yeah, because again, you would think even with Fargo, like Steve Buscemi. Steve Buscemi has been in some of my favorite films, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, but look at the tone of Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction and other things like that compared to the Coen Brothers. Coen Brothers is more art housey, even though they do tackle some of the same crime elements that Tarantino does. Tarantino it's weird he has the reputation for being an art house person that he does, because he's really not. He's a
very violent action movie director.
Yeah, I mean he's very obviously Tarantino is great at what he does, but he's in terms of he's I don't know, he's like a good punk band. It's like he can bring out emotions like nobody, but in different ways than the Coen Brothers. Coen Brothers are more, character building, and, Tarantino admittedly is more of just having...
Caricature.
Or because, like action movies, for instance, like a Jason Statham movie. It's like he can get away with doing a lot less than, what somebody in like a drama about a bus driver whose kid has cancer has to worry about,
Yeah, for sure.
But how about you? Sitting through Fargo, I know you mentioned it's one of your favorite Coen Brothers movies. Seeing it on the big screen again, is this the first time you saw it on the big screen?
It is the first time I've seen it on the big screen.
Did it change your perception in any way?
No, not really. I mean, I think the things I liked about it, I liked more about it. The starkness of the landscapes I really like about that movie.
What about since you saw it this is the first time you saw it on the big screen, did the scope of the movie screen kind of change perspective in any way?
The scope of the movie screen?
In terms of making it feel bigger compared to watching it on the television?
Well, that's what well, of course it did, because it was bigger. But what I'm saying is it made me feel... It intensified the emotion that I felt initially. So, for instance, with the starkness of the Fargo landscapes, or the South Dakota landscapes, North Dakota landscapes, that they felt even more stark, right? And the coldness of the characters, they felt even colder. So I think it did heighten my emotional experience of the film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really can't explain it. If anything, maybe I think it's just how the characters were developed. I guess my big critique is it did feel a little jarring how it started out compared to how it ended, and it's like it got really serious, but I didn't like how they still were a little jokey at the end, especially William H. Macy's character. That's the three-name person you forgot at the beginning of the recording.
Yeah, William H. Macy. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, again, that is a critique, but that, I think my critique is just based on subjective take of the film. It's like, if you believe in the characters and you like those characters from the start, then you're not gonna think about what I did, I guess, if that makes sense. Me, I just didn't really connect with the characters, and it just felt too. It's like the critiques I've had of Parker Posey. It felt like actors acting,
I see. The fact that you don't have that criticism of Tarantino films is just beyond me.
But Tarantino is going for a different thing. He's more of like an action fantasy type of thing, more along the lines of movies I like, whereas, Fargo, even though, like, and again, my critiques are purely subjective. I'm going to be the first to admit that. I'm not trying to, say that the Coen brothers did any sort of mistake, but even William H. Macy's performance in the film, even though I feel it did get a little jokey, having said that, you could still imagine a character like him actually existing, whereas, Marcellus Wallace, not really.
And so that makes you like the fantastical characters more.
Yeah, but again, that's just my cup of tea. I like that, just the more simple, admittedly two-dimensional, where it's just character. They're just playing off of emotions and whatnot. I don't ask for too much in my entertainment. You know what I watch.
It's just interesting. I really thought you would like Fargo because it does have violence. It does have, like, sick humor.
But to me, I guess it didn't land well because, again, the jokiness, the humor compared to when the violence actually occurred. Like, have you ever watched the lost ending to the movie Clerks?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, because the movie as it stood, in theaters was, Randall takes the, we're open, I assure you sign, and tosses it back into Dante, and then the credits roll. However, the Kevin Smith initially, when he wrote it, had an additional scene after that to where one more customer comes in, pulls a gun on Dante, shoots him, dead. He robs the quick stop, and then the last thing you see is Dante's dead body. And to me, it kind of felt like that, because it felt like they were going for jokey and cute, and then the violence was just like realistic. And that's another thing about Tarantino. The violence in his movies is more stylistic, more, just you expect like a one-liner to be said after after that, just the cool close-up on the hero. He squints and says the one-liner and everybody's cheering, whereas in Fargo it was, for me, it was a weird dichotomy. It's like you had to buy into it, and if you didn't buy into it, it was going to feel uneven.
Well, I think that's true for any drama, and this was a sort of dramedy.
Fair enough, and that is true, because if like you can't relate to the people in a particular story, it doesn't matter how well it's going to be, you're just not going to connect with it and not have the same emotional resonance as somebody who could connect with them. And again, just because I couldn't connect with them, I'm not saying, folks, that the Coens are bad at their jobs. I'm not saying that. Just, again,
I mean, that's fine. There's not much in an meh to analyze, really.
Yeah, and like I said, I've gone over my critiques here, and I very much admit that it's just my critiques are based on subjective parts of the film. Nothing that I have a critique for is really. It's not like the sound just stopped halfway through, or you could see like the boom mic in some shots. Those would be legitimate things that you can. Actually, yeah, you get my point. Why do I keep fucking doing that every week? But having said all that, if you do get a chance to see a movie like that in the theaters, go check it out. And if you've seen Fargo, find me on social media. You can either find me at FTNerdy or at Tim Jousma on Twitter, or you can go to our Instagram page at Friends Talking Nerdy Podcast and let me know what you thought of the movie, and we can go from there. But I had a fun time.
Oh, I always have a fun time at the movies with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what I absolutely love about, again, Anchor is the fact that, we can do more of these on-site movie reviews. I don't want to do every episode be a movie review, but, going up for something special like this, you do it. Because it to me, like, seeing Fargo in the theater was like if a classic band came to town that I may not like. If a really classic band, like if Paul McCartney came to town one more time, I'm not the biggest McCartney fan, but you still go see him. This is kind of like the same thing, even if you're in my spot to where you're not a big Coen Brothers fan, if you were a fan of movie making, you still watch masters of the craft do their work, even if, so go see it. Go see it.
Okay, so I didn't like it, but go see it. I gotcha.
But
I think that's fair.
Yeah,
I think it's fair. I love the movie. I think it's hilarious. I think the acting is really good, and I enjoyed the story. I think William H. Macy does the best job of anybody in it, of just playing that terror at the end. I think that was where he turns around and he's running away and they catch him and he just freaks out. And I think that's the culmination of all of that anxiety from his whole life,
Yeah, and it just still felt like goofy. It just still felt like an attempt at one last. And again, to be clear, if a person watching it liked the William H. Macy character, then or connected with him, you're going to be able to get a lot more from that scene than I ultimately did. That's but neither here nor there. Coen Brothers are definitely great filmmakers, whether I like them or not. And again, if you have a chance to see one of their classic movies, I mean, this is an Academy Award winning movie after all. you get a chance to see it in theaters, you have to go. I mean, it's non-negotiable. If you're a fan of movies, this is the type of movie you see on the big screen, even if you don't care for it, because movies like this, ended up inspiring other filmmakers that I like, and they're classics for a reason. And Fargo is a classic.
I was just thinking that about the Beatles the other day. That, like, what if you got rid of the Beatles? What would the world have been like? And I'm sure there's, like, books about that, and there might even be a movie based on that premise. But you just start thinking about the influence that things can have, and it's like a ripple.
I always thought it would be funny if, like, there was, like, a story of a band like the Beatles, because fans of the Beatles know that before Ringo Starr joined the band, they had another drummer by the name of Pete Best, and I thought it would be funny to have a story to where you have a Beatles-like band that fired a member, and then that member got pissed and ended up creating a time machine, and then going back and then stopping the band from forming or something like that.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That could be the prequel to my movie, which is just about how the band... what was my movie about?
What music would be like if the Beatles weren't there.
Oh, right. Yeah, like what if the band just didn't exist? And then your movie could be about why the band didn't exist anymore.
Multiverse, baby.
Multiverse.
Yeah. If I had to speculate, I think there would have been somebody else that would have come along, because I think the musical ingredients were already in place. It just would have, it's just what would have that been? Would that have been another English band? Like the Stones didn't get attention until the Beatles wrote them a song, so would the Stones have, made an impact without the Beatles, and think about all the other acts from the 60s that the Beatles wrote songs for, there's so much that would have changed. However, I don't think we'd be all listening to Beethoven today. I think we'd still have something resembling what we listen to now. It just, without the Beatles there, who knows?
It's just a quicker version of evolution.
Yeah. With that, though, I think we'll wrap things up here. But yeah, I know one thing that did you want to talk about the big news before we wrap up?
About the condo? Well, there is a new
Chateau Aubrey. It's a condo.
I'm excited about it.
Yes. I've seen the outside of the place. Beautiful place there, and I'm definitely happy that you found a place that's going to make you happy for the foreseeable future.
Me too. We've been struggling to figure out what sort of we're doing housing-wise for a while, so it's nice to have that resolved to some extent.
Yes, and living on a street with some amazing food.
Yes, very excited about the neighborhood.
Yes, me too. And over time, of course, on our future episodes, you'll definitely hear more about that as we end things here. We thank you all for listening every Wednesday and Saturday. We're going to have something in this podcast space to entertain your ear holes. Until we meet again, we bid you adieu.
And good night.
Bye.
Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy on iTunes, the Google Play Music Store, as well as Spotify. Remember to support Friends Talking Nerdy on Patreon. Goodbye, darling.